again.
Yeah. Well, I used Beats One well, I think what's it called? Beats, whatever before Apple bought it. They were a really heavy recommendation, but Apple didn't adopt enough of it, which kind of upset me. But Google, on the other hand, seemed to have really got their they just kind of know me, which is scary but also delightful, and my music choices. So yeah, I go back and forth.
So, what are you hitting? Are you hitting your hand or your elbow on the desk, Lamarr?
Me?
Yeah.
I might have just hit it then. I wasn't banging it. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just hearing a thumping noise. I'm wondering if.
Let me make sure I'm on the right microphone.
Your voice sounds fine.
Yeah, it's the Yeti. It's the Yeti. Yeah.
Your audio is great. It was just hearing like if I do this on my
I probably did,
that.
Yep. Yeah, I hit my hand on the desk. It's a little sensitive, so I'll be careful not to hit that.
Let me see. Oh,
I'm really strong too, so you know.
All right, I knew I forgot something. I need to find a person to thank at the top.
Thank you, because I always forget that too.
What the heck did he call it? Daily Tech News Show.
Is it .com? Because I'd be really upset if it's not.
It is.
Okay.
Tech Future. No, that's not.
.biz.
That's not it. Oh, what was the thing?
.edu.
What was the
I would love to have a .edu.
I can't.
I get discounts.
You can't, right? You have to be.
No, you can't. Yeah.
That would.
Unless I make a school.
It's good. It's good that the top level domain. Sarah University.
Yeah, there you go.
What was the thing I opened up? Oh no, what was the thing that I needed to open up to check for?
The title, a person to thank.
Yeah, no, what was it? But what was I opening up in the sheets? Trying to remember.
Oh.
Do you remember?
This is the. Why did I walk into this room? I don't. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
I'm literally blanking on it.
I just know you were trying to look for somebody to thank.
And I know that you and I talked about this last week, and I just forget.
I literally cannot remember.
Just thank me. Thank me for being here.
I'm going to at the end of the
show.
You can bet on it.
Oh, great.
Okay, so I've
I am a little shiny.
The best I can.
Well, it's too late now. I can't. Yeah, so I'm a little shiny, but that's okay.
I'm a little shiny too.
I should have put a little pop.
We're shiny, happy people.
powder.
Actually, I'm not really that shiny today. Are
we live on YouTube?
What's that?
Are we live on YouTube?
We are live on YouTube, and Sarah, I was saying that Lamarr took your shine.
Yes, the shine is off on Sarah. Well, because I'm always I run shiny. I'm a shiny, happy person.
You are
usually, but today I don't really look that shiny. At least
you are the Captain Marvel of tech.
You know what's funny? I did so much work on this office over the weekend, but so much of it you guys can't see because it's just like super organization stuff. I'm so proud of it. Should have done a video. Maybe I still will.
Well, see, that's how I feel about this office.
You know, but it's like this wall still kind of looks like I just moved in. You know, I got a picture here. I was gonna hang that up above here, but it's kind of girly. I don't know. It felt a little not DTNS enough for me. So
you're a girl, and it's okay.
I know. And Maxfield Parrish, he's like one of my favorite artists. So it's like I like the picture, but it's big, so it's like that would sort of be the only thing there. And I'm like, I think maybe I want a little bit more variety.
I have Wonder Woman right there. It's okay if I could do that.
Well, you
trust me, there's a certain amount of girly things I like.
But you know what we like?
Like
show. And I found the person to put in. So
did you now?
So we are recording, so you can start whenever.
All right. Good stuff. You want to count me in, or do you not care?
Yeah, I'll coach it.
All right, cool.
I'm ready. 3, 2.
Alex Lasnik has supported independent tech news directly for 5 years. Be like Alex. Become a DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS. This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, March 11th, 2019. Tom Merritt is out traveling today, but from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
Also from Los Angeles, I'm Lamarr Wilson.
And I'm Roger, the show's producer, who will just turn on this camera right there. And you can see my face, but if you're listening to the audio, you don't know what's going on.
You have no idea who this is.
Lamarr, you outed me. I didn't say I was from Los Angeles.
Oh,
now
sorry.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. Oh, no.
That's all right. It's a big city. You'll never find me. All right, let's. We've got quite a few things to talk about, including facial recognition at airports and how we should all panic, or maybe why we should not panic. But first, let's start with a few tech things you should know. Facebook sued 2 Ukrainian men for allegedly scraping user data through quiz apps such as character and popularity tests. We've all seen them, that also injected ads into their news feeds, potentially for years. Around 63,000 Facebook users' browsers, mostly from Russia and the Ukraine, are said to have been affected.
Tidal's high-res MQA music tracks are now available to listeners in Tidal's iOS app. The feature came to Android phones back in January and first became available to Tidal's desktop listeners last year. High-res audio is defined as anything with a higher bit rate or sampling frequency than a 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz, I hope this is the right standard used by CDs.
Estonia in the modern world. Estonia's recent parliamentary election saw 44% of total votes were made online. The 247,232 votes made by Estonia's iVoting system marks a record for the percentage of the electorate and total numbers of votes cast. Online voting in the country launched in 2005 and is open from the 10th to the 4th days before an election.
As of Wednesday, March 13th, it will be illegal to fly a drone within 3 miles of an airport in the UK. Currently, the UK imposes a 0.6-mile limit. The rule changes were first announced last month after drone activity shut down Gatwick Airport for more than 24 hours. In November, anyone flying a drone over 250 grams or 8.8 ounces will need to take an online safety test beforehand and register with the country's aviation authority. Amen to this.
Yeah, that Gatwick Airport shutdown happened right around Christmas. I remember lots of people were stranded. Bad news around the holidays. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Nvidia and where it wants to go next, Lamarr.
Yeah, so Nvidia agreed to acquire the networking chip and component maker Mellanox for $6.9 billion. Now, Nvidia's offer is a 14% premium on the current stock price at $125 per share. The move would further bolster Nvidia's data center division, which has already tripled sales in the past 2 years and currently makes up a third of total company revenue. Reuters reports that Nvidia outbid Intel in negotiations for Mellanox. The acquisition must now be approved by regulators before being finalized.
You know, Roger, you and I were talking about this before the show and the fact that Nvidia needs to expand into other places. It's certainly it's a leader in its space, but it's faced increasing competition from other companies, Intel being one of them, and data centers is one of those places that it can expand into.
I mean, it's definitely a situation where I think Nvidia has kind of moved to a place where it's kind of just saturated the market that it's been in, which was GPUs for the longest time. And they've tried to branch out into automotive with their ARM based offerings. And I think they want to move out into another place where ARM processors can make a difference, and that's data centers, right? You see it with Qualcomm, you see it with a lot of other manufacturers. Even AMD has been dabbling with ARM architecture, and it makes sense because Intel is developing another in-house GPU program, maybe more successful than Larrabee this time around. AMD already has ATI, so I mean it's going to be the only it would be the only company out there that's very single-tracked if they stay with GPU, and they need to branch out into other markets.
Yeah. So not only do you see this, consolidation, as you were saying, with the companies, but you're also getting a shrinking customer list. You're getting more and more companies are making their own chips, or just outright not using Nvidia. So prices are going up for them. So this kind of consolidation makes sense. They're already huge in gaming. Jumping into AI and data centers is the next logical thing, and a lot of this is just kind of backing out. Us as consumers won't really notice or care about the difference of this. So I probably expect it to go through the regulatory approval pretty fast.
Yeah. Well, I think it remains to be seen if it ends up being as successful for them as they have been with GPUs, because GPUs have traditionally been something that NVIDIA's excelled at, and the other markets they're going into are a lot more crowded than the GPU one is.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, that the data center division has done well and currently makes up a third of NVIDIA's total company revenue. That was actually a surprise to me. I didn't realize that it was such a big part of NVIDIA's business already.
I neither. Yeah.
And I think it also kind of illustrates how mature the GPU market is. And when I mean the GPU market, I mean specifically the consumer GPU market. There's always going to be a market for NVIDIA, like Quadro and AMD ATI Fireline cards, which are more, more institutional, industrial, CAD/CAM, developer usage. That they've kind of maxed out that point, and they really just need to hey, we got other markets that we need to start looking into to expand our financial base. Unless
cryptocurrency gets hot again, and then it's prices. GPUs for days.
My light went out. Sorry about that. We'll get that change fixed.
There's a ghost in the machine, Lamarr.
There's a ghost.
All right. The European Union's competition commissioner, Margrethe Vestager, responded to Elizabeth Warren's proposals from last week. And by the way, we had a great discussion about it on Friday's show. If you missed it, we Tom and Brian Brushwood and Justin Robert Young and Roger and I had a great conversation about it. So if you missed that show, go ahead and listen to it. A lot of good information anyway. That was last week's news. It was big news on Friday. Elizabeth Warren wants to break up big tech companies. That's a very simplistic way to explain all of her ideas. Speaking to Recode's Kara Swisher at South by Southwest over the weekend, Margrethe Vestager said, and I'll just quote her directly, "To break up a company, to break up private property would be very far-reaching, and you would need to have a very strong case that it would produce better results for consumers in the marketplace than what you could do with more mainstream tools. We're dealing with private property, businesses that are built and invested in and become successful because of their innovation." As for those more mainstream alternatives, Vestager pointed to an agreement last month that was struck between European political institutions on regulating online platform transparency as a fairness-focused intervention that countries that counters market imbalance. Lamarr, I mean, without getting too political, did you follow Warren's proposals? Did anything strike you as a little out to lunch, or right on the money, or somewhere in between?
Yeah, so I watched you all on Friday, and I'm glad you had Justin on to kind of do that political part for you all. Yeah, he really is. So it's expected, and what I mean is it's an easy target to say, Google bad, break up good, and very very Hulk style, and so I'm not surprised at that. I'm surprised that the European Union is kind of taking a hey, we don't know we should do this, because remember what happened with Microsoft back in the day, and even now they have a big case against Google. Of course, that is more antitrust, but they've been known to be very a little bit more hardline on U.S. companies and these big companies of having too much power. So I mean, it's interesting to see her take a more measured stance, and I guess I have a few base opinions on it. I don't necessarily see the problem with big companies are being balanced and offering good services. I'm not I'm not saying there should be one monopoly. I don't think that can ever happen again. I think what Microsoft was building can probably never be replicated. I think having 3 or 4 good companies doing it is about as balanced as probably going to be.
I think part of it is that there's a tacit understanding, at least at the EU, that they still rely on these companies, whether it's Google, Facebook, Apple, as big and being the 800-pound gorillas in their respective markets. I mean, they always will bring a lot of regulatory attention upon themselves. But it is a delicate balance, and I think what Marguerite is stating is that we want to regulate you, but doesn't mean we want to eliminate you. And I think it's very important because it says to them, like, we want to do business, but we want to do business on our terms rather than.
Well, Elizabeth Warren isn't talking elimination either, though.
Well, no, she's not, but she's talking about breaking up. Which if you're old enough to remember Ma Bell, AT&T was the only phone company in the U.S. for the longest time. And when that broke up, that was huge. I mean, that shattered a 50, 60, 70-year monopoly on a telecommunications market. I mean, we're not dealing with that on that scale, but it's very easy for a lot of that rhetoric to amp up a lot of and inflame a lot of passions about, like, we got to take these giant companies down. They drive up the cost of real estate. They know all our information. They control us. They can track us. There's a lot of fear, and there's also a lot of emotional, investiture that people have put in these things. And so,
and there are also different laws based on what countries we're talking about, and some of these companies that are in question here that are huge do comply with various regional regulations as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, the U.S. government says it will downgrade intelligence sharing with Germany if Huawei wins a contract to build out the country's 5G infrastructure, according to a letter from U.S. Ambassador to Germany, Richard Grenell, to Germany's economics minister, Peter Altmaier. Germany has not found conclusive evidence that the Huawei technology is used for spying by the Chinese government, although they concede the company could be compelled to do so in the future.
I love this. We're gonna decrease intelligence sharing because of the threat of intelligence sharing that we think might be not kosher.
Yeah. So the whole take on this is essentially we supply information to these foreign governments in return of them providing, intelligence to us about movement of people, movement of political governments. For example, Germany's closer to Eastern Europe than the U.S., and they might have a better feel about what's going on with the governments and policies and stuff like that. The idea behind this, of course, is to put pressure on Huawei, whether it's, whether you agree with it or not. It is part of a larger plan to kind of put a pressure on Huawei because it is, at least in the current administration's view, a proxy for the Chinese government, right? So there's very much a geopolitical element to it that goes beyond just plain technology business, but rather intertwining of business as diplomacy. And so, what they're saying to the EU is like, well, we can't really give you, or Germany, I should say, we really can't give you all this, upper tier information, because if you use Huawei's 5G network, we can't be sure that that information will not be eavesdropped on.
Yeah, this is a complex issue, and I'll be real short with this. Just with this current conflict we're having with China, with the trade talks and now this intelligence sharing. I'm not sure where this goes. It seems to stifle innovation, but I understand the security concerns. But I mean, it almost feels a little.
The Huawei story is a very complicated, very, very intermeshed, in some cases very especially in tech and convoluted. But tech, as we all know, is big business, and business is on the mind of everyone involved. And so, I mean, it's one of the problem is there is no plan. There is no this is where we want to be, in 10 years' time. This is where we think we want to be in terms of political relations, but how we get there is totally up in the air at this point.
I agree.
Let's talk about Tesla, shall we?
Hey.
In a blog post, Tesla announced it will keep more retail stores open, kind of walking back the news from last week than it had previously been stated by CEO Elon Musk. The company stated it has already closed 10% of retail locations, with another 20% under review. As a result of keeping more locations open, average vehicle pricing will increase 3%, but will not impact the new $35,000 base Model 3.
So I had a question, and maybe some in the audience may be thinking the same thing. Did Tesla was obviously initially pushing online. They still do. Did they make retail to comply with local laws that you have to have a retail location to sell cars? Because I know that was a conflict with some states, maybe cities that were trying to keep them out. So because I was wondering where this. We're going to take the stores away, and now we're going to leave them come from. Well, I didn't think they had that many stores to begin with. I only see a couple here in LA.
Yeah, like some states require you have a dealership network in that state in order to actually sell a car. Like you would not be able to sell a car the way you would sell a lamp on Amazon.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know in Tesla's case, and yeah, it depends on the region, of course. But in many cases, it was just a showroom. Come see this car. When you do, you're going to fall in love with it even more. And there was a retail location I visited in LA, down by the airport, actually, in the El Segundo area, where they've got a whole big operation going on down there. And yeah, I mean, it was not totally like a normal dealership, but it was designed to sit in the car, look at this cool, that sort of iPad dash situation, and make it harder to deny yourself this wonderful car. Because of course, it's like buying anything online. If you can see it and touch it, and you've got like tactile touch to it, you are more likely to get it.
Yeah, so maybe that's part of the outrage of them saying they were going to close more. People want to, they want to be able to see and touch.
And some of it is just like, why are you closing? Are you losing money? Are you not making enough money? I mean, there's a lot of Tesla occupies that space where it is both a unicorn and the ultimate, bullseye. Like everyone wants to throw something at Tesla because, whether or not you like their cars, whether or not you like Elon, I mean, you're just a high profile target. And so whatever you do, as any celebrity can tell you, will be met with a lot of suspicion. And, a lot of people doing are you not making your bottom line? Do you need to lower the price of these cars because you're not selling enough? Or you have, there's a lot of those kinds of questions, but it could be like, we don't need to blow money on these things that don't necessarily add to the bottom line when we could use those resources to either, increase production or, lay out cash somewhere else.
Although, and I know it doesn't apply to the Model 3, which I'm also not getting, but I know enough folks who have Teslas that I'm familiar with them. They're lovely cars. They're out of my price range, but I don't need to go to a retail location. So the fact that vehicle pricing will increase 3%, if I was in the market, I would say, that sucks because I don't actually need to go to a retail location. I already know I want the car, and now it's a little bit more expensive.
Absolutely. I'm not going to buy it either.
I mean, I'd love one. I would.
I feel like you need a house. That's the only thing I'm against electric cars. You need a house to be able to fully take advantage of it, so you can charge it daily. I don't know. Unless you're in a really good area that has chargers everywhere. I don't know.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, it's out of my price range, and I also don't know where I'd plug it in. I don't.
Yeah, that's literally my problem.
That's not happening. All right, everybody, to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. All right, everybody, let's talk about privacy at the airport, shall we?
This is going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. All right, I'll kind of set this up, and Lamarr, jump in at any time if you want to. There's a lot of information here. The Electronic Privacy Information Center published a long document, 346 pages, outlining how U.S. Customs and Border Protection is implementing biometric entry-exit systems using facial recognition at major airports in the U.S. Now, BuzzFeed News, which obtained this document, notes that there was no period for public comment on the system before implementation began. So that's the people go, oh no, this is all happening behind the public's back, right? Foreign travelers can have their images stored for up to 14 days. It's not totally clear how cooperating airlines and third parties can use this data, this facial recognition data, going forward, because of course these are leaked documents. Now, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, we'll call them CBP, is operating under an executive order that was signed by President Trump in 2017 to expedite biometric verification of all U.S. international travelers in the top 20 airports by 2021. But Important to note, approval for this system was initially signed into law during the Obama administration. So this has been going on for a while. Document states that 17 airports currently have system trials in place with the goal of initial operating capability of scanning 30 international flights per day by the end of 2019, that's right around the corner.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So the systems, the way that they work is matching up a passport photo of an international traveler. So, there's my passport photo that's in the system with real-time images captured at airport. So I'm walking through the airport, a camera sees me, said, "Yep, that's Sarah Lane. We know who she is." Hopefully they match me correctly. That's who I am. An audit in late 2017 found that there was about an 85% successful match rate, which is, sure, that sounds pretty good, right? 85%, okay, you're close to 100 than 0, but you're certainly not 100%. You're going to get some false positives there, or you're going to miss some folks as well. Lamarr, as somebody who I know you do a fair amount of traveling, and we can go back and forth between, you want to catch the bad guys at airports, so there's. This all seems like okay. They're not doing it for no reason. They're doing it for very specific reason. But where does privacy end and kind of the scary stuff begin?
This is, and forgive me, audience, if I sound very simplistic with this, but like I kind of already thought this kind of thing was happening already. Like we have cameras everywhere that is already tracking you, especially in airports. If anything, I would think this kind of system would be helpful to maybe expedite a foreign traveler. Okay, we see them walking down. Yep, that's them. The matching, it will take them less time to get through security. I'm not seeing the outcry and negative here unless we start talking about what these airlines are going to do with the data. They say they hold it for 14 days, but what happens? I'm sorry for the light. What happens after that? Does it? Are they using it for marketing purposes, or are they trying to figure out how much you travel and sit? Like I'm not sure where the negative is here.
Well, I think the negative.
I'm having trouble with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious negative is if the AI systems don't work well enough, then you're going to have a lot of people inconvenienced at best.
Sure, the 15%, right?
Yeah. And then I think there's also, there's certainly a large portion of people who are like, well, what airports and why don't we know about it? And is it my airport, the one that I go to often? And where's the cameras? And there's that whole, this has been going on for some time. This is not necessarily a secret, but something that it is farther along, I think, than a lot of folks assumed. And that always tends to upset people.
Yeah, I just think, look, from my point of view, we've been around as adults since 2001. When those attacks, so we have full awareness. We weren't kids when that. So we and I just assumed from then on it was just we see it in the movies, where it's just that biometric, they scanning or the finger. Like I just assumed that was coming and it would just be a thing. I'm surprised it's just now here. I know I get people's angst about more data of them being stored, but if you walk through an airport, you've seen it. I mean, I look where I'm not trying to look like I'm, they probably will stop me if I'm looking at too many cameras, but like I know where they are, and I just accepted that that's if you're gonna fly, that's just how it is.
I think a lot of it also has to do with just general profiling, right? Like how do you is this just if you developed a totally agnostic, totally ambivalent system to a person's appearance, and then you slowly develop it to target certain individuals, for example, a lone male who wears a certain type of clothing, perhaps facial hair, headdress or anything, that stuff tends to lead over time to an unfairly biased way of identifying people, especially in a security setting, which tends to disadvantage minorities at a greater rate than the general population.
I mean, but are we talking about like just when I'm thinking of biometric, I'm literally thinking of, you see those movies, the eye points and they're just scanning the faces. I'm not even thinking about dress and all that.
But that's the worry, right? It's not just all this stuff doesn't exist in a vacuum. Biometrics is fine, right? It's the implementation that people will have issues with, and I think at least based on American security history, there have been a lot of false positives where people are misidentified because they happen to appear as something that they were not, based solely at the discretion of whoever's operating it. Now, you can use machine learning, but as we've discussed, and Tom has mentioned in previous episodes, machine learning is often biased by the people that develop it, right? And that's why you would want a very diverse, a very broad set of people helping to develop it, because you can then kind of kick out those subconscious biases that people tend to put into a system.
I think those are good points. I just like... and I don't know if we can answer this now. Like, what's the alternative? Yeah, and I think you answered it partially by just saying just a more diverse amount of people, making sure that it's a balanced system, and that'll reduce some of that. I think that's a really good first step.
Got some breaking news, everybody. Apple announced it will hold an event on March 25th with an invitation showing a countdown and the words, "It's showtime." Ooh,
they're buying Showtime.
Gonna be right. That was actually what I thought. I'm like, that's very specific to the Showtime network. Apple is expected to announce the TV and Apple News subscription services. We've talked about this in the past. The Verge also noted that Apple first used that tagline, "It's Showtime," for a September 2006 event, where it announced that it would start offering movies on iTunes.
Wow.
Interessante. I did not remember that. Yeah,
no, I wasn't even born then. But yeah, no, I was
very, very young as well.
Yeah, I'm excited because I knew their TV thing was coming, and I've been bouncing around TV networks, YouTube TV, and I'm now using Hulu. I'm excited to see what they're offering. I like Hulu so much, I doubt I'm gonna jump off of it, but I want to see what they got going. I heard that you all probably talked about the Apple News controversy with the 50%, whatever crazy amount they're taking from the publishers. So I'm surprised they got that ready to go.
I'm excited for the event because I'm excited to stop speculating about what the event will be about. Because we've been doing that for it seems like a solid year now, maybe more.
That's Apple. That's Apple News for you.
It is. All right. March 25th, everybody. That'll be a fun day on the show. Thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. Also a fun place to hang out. Submit stories and vote on other stories at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You help us make our show every day, so we thank you. It's so nice for you to participate. We're also on Facebook. Facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow is where to hang out with us there. All right, let's move over to Chris Christensen, a.k.a. the Amateur Traveler, who has a story on why it sometimes pays to read the EULA.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. It's been talked on DTNS many times about how people don't read those user agreements online. Apparently, Donalyn Andrews, who is a Georgia high school economics teacher, does. And by doing so, she read the details of the policy she had bought, the travel insurance policy, at squaremouth.com, and found an embedded contest where she won $10,000. Squaremouth said they were expecting that contest to go on for as long as a year. We're surprised that someone discovered it within 23 hours. So apparently some people do read the fine print. I'm Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
If I thought I would win things, I'd read them a lot more carefully too.
Oh yeah. Well, see, now it's not going to work because everybody's going to read it now. Well, maybe it did work. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? The company's like, we thought it would take so much longer. We didn't think anybody was going to read this.
They probably didn't have that money saved up either. They in trouble. They better pay that.
Yeah. Blew up in your face, didn't it? Now you got a customer who won a contest. All right, real quickly, let's check the mailbag. AOJ had some thoughts on our story from last Friday about Philadelphia requiring almost all merchants to accept cash.
Oh, yeah.
And then he had some potential workarounds, such as if these cashless stores want to keep being cashless, despite the new law, I would think they could just use a membership model. People thought people through their web portal become a member of their club. Then the club's terms of service could indicate the club members' acceptance for having their credit cards on file or acceptance of only credit cards for club debts. The store then gets their club member to use the web portal on their phone or to make the payment, which in turn gets reported to the store. That sounds complicated, but I get where you're going with this.
I understand it, but from someone who's worked exactly 2 years in retail, I think you would see a huge dip. Not like half, but 15% dip if you were forcing people just to go into a membership model.
Yeah,
but membership models are consistent money, so they're
consistent money, but it's also it's easy for someone to be like, I don't want to do that. I'll just go
only if that membership typically involves some fee. Right. Like, even if it's like $15 a year, people are saying, well, I spent money on this, so I should probably buy some from that store.
That's true. That's what Amazon Prime does for me.
Yeah. Have you ever used a cashless place? I think Tender Greens I think it's the only place I've used here that was like cashless, which I thought which is cool. I don't carry cash anyway, but
I've been to Tender Greens and I didn't notice that, but I don't really carry cash either. So it's very. In fact, the only places that I notice is places that are cash only. And those are the places where I'm like, oh man, I gotta use your ATM, and it's like $5. And
they love that. Yes,
I'm old guy from 20th century. I always carry cash, always.
Well, I know, Roger, you're the better person.
I'm not better. I'm just older,
just smarter. No, it's true. Thanks to Lamarr Wilson, Ban Cash, my brother in arms. Lamarr, it's good to have you here on this fine Monday. Tell folks where they can keep up with your work.
Yeah, so I'm primarily on YouTube. I do mystery unboxings of every genre. We got a couple coming up this week. One of my favorites is an Amazon Returns box. I always love those. Where you spend $150 and they say you get $1,500 worth of stuff, and it never is usually like that. So check me out on YouTube. I'm also being very bullish on Instagram right now. Instagram is a really good portal. I'm putting a lot of video content there too. So at Lamarr Wilson on Instagram, if you want to see what I'm doing every day.
It is very entertaining. I gotta hand it to you, Lamarr.
I forget. Yeah, you are on there.
Yes, I'm also on Instagram, and we're friends. So yes, I see your content. Our goal each month, you know what our goal is. It's a simple goal. It's a proud goal, just to get one more patron than last month. You could be that person who puts us over the top. Maybe bring a friend in, become a DTNS member, and get an ad-free RSS feed. You get special episodes, you get special goodies, special episodes looking back on the news of the past, all sorts of good stuff. Sign up at patreon.com/DTNS. You want to buy a mug, maybe a t-shirt, maybe a beanie. dailytechnewsshow.com/store is where you can check out all of our merch. There's some really good stuff there. Also, our email address, just to remind you, is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday. If you want to join us live, we'd love to have you. 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 22:30 UTC. I think it's 20:30 UTC, actually. You can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. Tom Merritt is back tomorrow. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Frog Pants Network. Get more shows like this at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That was a very mellow, almost jazzy ending there. Like that.
Yes.
That's
it's our special one when Tom's away.
It's Scott's.
Is that the After Dark edition?
I know. Da, 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 da.
That's the after work edition.
Frog Pants Network. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why we only use it when Tom is on the show, but that's when it always is.
It's because that's the only bumper I have for the ending.
Because
Tom
he's
hasn't
usually
switched over
rolling the
yet.
music. I see.
That's the one that Scott implemented for 2018. So I downloaded it.
Right.
Because he sent it to me.
I like the variety. It's good stuff.
It's like Otter Pops.
It is like Otter Pops. Man, it's been a while since I had an Otter Pop.
Those things. It's those pops that are like in a little. They look like Slim Jims. They're in that little plastic sleeve.
They're popsicles. Yeah, and you kind of gotta tear them with your teeth, and then it's basically just frozen Kool-Aid.
Oh, is that what they're? I didn't know they were called Otter Pops. I had those when I was a kid. Yeah. Just those long ones.
There are probably a few different brands that did something similar, but yeah, the Otter Pop was it was a summer treat.
Right there. So if you see it.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize the name. Yeah, I grew up on those. Definitely.
Gotta love an Otter Pop.
They are the best.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, and the adults would always say, "Don't open those with your teeth. Here, let me get some scissors."
They're the worst, and they're simultaneously the best because they're popsicles, but they were cheap because you would buy when they sell them in packs of like 25 or 30.
Yeah,
and you stick the whole thing in the freezer, and then you break them off. It's like before glow sticks were a thing at raves. That's what
really. You took an Otter Pop.
You just bring your Otter Pops to a rave.
Yeah,
You'd think with all the dancing they would get very melted and
you can drink it so you're not dehydrated, and you would have sugar to amp you up.
Aren't you concerned that your Otter Pumps are glowing though? Like I think that would be a little bit more concerning to me. That
a lot of your food that you eat probably
radioactive.
Put enough light on anything, it'll glow.
Speaking of glowing, Roger, I finally watched the Bodega Bathroom musical skit.
What'd you
think?
That
was so funny.
Yes.
I mean, it was like it wasn't just funny. I was like, this is so well done. I mean, there's dancing and choreography and
there's so many Broadway jokes in there. It's like, you spent a lot of time thinking about this.
Really funny. Lamarr, we're talking about not this last Saturday, but the Saturday before. John Mulaney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, he was I
remember that.
The host. And that was a great episode.
It's great. He's funny. He was one of the writers.
Yeah,
he's moved on to Netflix.
He's extremely funny. Even his
everybody was saying that they need to have more stand-ups do be the guests, because stand-ups know how to do that opening monologue, and regular actors don't. Like the jokes never come off really well. No, I listened to his monologue. He did a fantastic.
Well, when you're a stand-up comedian, there's a certain timing you have for a good execution of a joke.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's like half of it. At least that's what Scott Harriet taught me. Remember Scott Harriet?
Yes, I do.
That's what Johnny Carson. That's what he promoted. A lot of comedics. He will let them do their 2 to 3 minute, spiel, and and you don't see that as much in recent night shows. So it's kind of good to see Saturday Night Live doing that.
Titles to Nvidia and beyond. To Nvidia and beyond. How
about the title? The title is the title. I'm sorry, that was stupid. Don't write that one.
U.S. airports face ID plans scrutinized. No, I thought we were reading something there.
Okay, I need to contact them and find out why this light is doing this.
What is it doing?
It's just turning off. Maybe if somebody's been watching. What's the intermittency? Now just turn back on.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm not doing anything.
Well, it's weird when it turns off. It actually gets brighter in your room because I think your camera's compensating for that.
You can't sell a car like you sell land. Well, you can sell a used car. Oh, I guess you can't. You would.
Well, I think your setup looks real nice otherwise, Lamarr.
Well, thank you. Except for my fail lighting.
Well. If it makes you feel any better, the two lights that I used to use kind of, as sort of side and back fill lighting, I'm not using currently because my dog chewed through both of the power cords.
I thought that was exclusively for cats to do. Wow.
What about it pays to read the fine print? That's not one of the main stories.
That's good though. It does. I would sure.
There's no.
I'm a little more cynical. I like the you can't be homeless in a Tesla.
It's true.
I like whoever wrote that is great. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
Do we want the word homeless in our title? I don't know.
Breaking up a corporation is hard to do.
Maybe we could bring the homeless people who want to.
Breaking up a corporate is hard to do would be funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done. Selected.
Remember when?
I gotta find because it wasn't doing this yesterday.
Or where do I plug it in? Zoe brings bacon. Just put that in there.
All right,
it's funny. There's so many because I do a lot of walking around my neighborhood, and I've told the folks at home about my strange neighbors in the trailer and the power cords going into the abandoned house and what's happening, and I still don't have any idea. But a lot of folks with electric cars, they do kind of the same thing where it's like the car's in the driveway. It's not in a garage anywhere. I don't know what's in the garage, or maybe there's not a garage, but then, it's plugged in and then it's all taped down. and then it goes somewhere wherever the outlet actually is. And I see that in the neighborhood a lot. Not like on busy streets where it would kind of be weird or people would mess with it, but because there's some like hilly areas where there's like little cul-de-sacs and just stuff where they're not getting a whole lot of traffic, or even really foot traffic, and you're kind of like, oh, I see what you're doing here. This is kind of an operation, though.
Yeah, if the city allow, I guess they're not making a big deal out of it. Like that's
usually it's in like the driveway. Not really parked on the street, but it's still not like within. It's it's to the point where I'm like walking around the car. It's like in the blocking the sidewalk.
I'm sure some people have figured out some ways. But I just like when I lived in a couple of houses I was renting. That would have been because actually I was holding a friend's electric car in the garage for him for a couple of months, and that's perfect. Like if it's there in the garage, but like living in some of these apartments, I could not see owning. I almost have to like determine where I live based on my car if I ever bought a Tesla.
Yeah,
it's the reverse, and I don't want to live like that.
Right. Yeah. It really pays to be a homeowner when you have a Tesla. It's funny, at my old apartment building, I don't even have a garage where I live now, although I actually don't currently have a car, so it doesn't matter right now. But at my old place, before I moved, I didn't have a garage, but I had a carport. And so it was like there were 3 cars, next to each other, and we were all just kind of in this. It was covered, but it was open to the elements. And there was an outlet. I was the middle space between 2 other spaces. Mm-hmm. And there was an outlet like right in front of where I would pull up, and I always was like, if I plugged in an electric car here, like, who pays for that? Because the space was not associated with my apartment unit. It was like, that was just where I parked. And
free electricity.
I never, because it's no one ever plugged anything in there. I don't really know why there was an outlet. I don't know, just there was. But for construction, I'm sure they use it every once in a while. But I always thought like, how long before a landlord would be like, what in the heck? Where's this bill coming from? Like who pays for that?
Everyone's rent goes up.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was probably.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah.
Well, the guy who lived under me would have ratted me out. I'm sure of it. He was a real tattletale about lots of things.
Was he an older guy?
He was.
Was he the kind that kind of put his nose into things that it didn't belong in?
Well, so the apartment building was an older one, kind of late 60s, early 70s era. And he had been there since the beginning. So he was an older guy, but he also felt a lot of ownership over the building. He and I got into it when I first moved in about something really stupid. And I kind of was, I gave him a pass because I was like, I get it. You're just territorial, and I'm like the new kid who's probably paying like way too much rent and, coming in here with her car, parking in the middle next to your car. He was actually mad at me because I parked too close to his car. He was on the right side of me, but we ended up becoming friends after a while. But I never trusted him to keep a secret of mine. Like he would be the guy who would tell on anybody who tried to Airbnb their unit. Which is technically it wasn't allowed because it was considered a sublet and that was in our lease. But some people can get away with that sort of thing. I wouldn't have been able to had I tried, which I didn't. But I should have. I would have made a lot of money.
I'm by the beach.
Yep.
That's
would have been a very lucrative little side biz, but
I've always been thinking about that. Like set up a pup tent in the driveway. Have at it.
Some friends of mine who built a house. It was already there, but they did a lot of renovating to it up in Sonoma County. It's really nice now. It took them forever, years to do it, but it's done now. They mostly Airbnb it, and then they just, will block off weekends that they want to go up there and live there. And they are making, I don't know exactly what the number is, but so much money that it's like, it's already paid, like all the construction and renovations has paid for itself like within a year because there's so much demand for that area because it's wine country and it's a nice house. There's a pool, and you can fit a good amount of folks in there. And I'm like, man, You know,
you just got to be careful of running into that one frat house that trashes it.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, and you also just have to have that. Well, not just like the money investment, but the guts to be like, this is gonna pay off, and go through construction hell for some time, knowing that it's going to be a really good idea. Because I'm such a fraidy cat that I'm usually like, sounds too hard.
The thing is, my dad was, actually still is a landlord, and I just have very bad memories of being a landlord. It's just not. It's never fun, even with an Airbnb. Eventually you're going to come to a point where, man, why did I rent this out? As you're like checking out the giant, TV-sized hole in your wall.
I would never, ever be a landlord. I have thought about it. I would have to have some company run it because I could not handle that myself.
Oh, yeah, you would have to get a property manager and, depending.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
My wife and I have a 35-foot travel trailer that goes mostly unused up here in Alaska, and we thought about, well, I mean, we could Airbnb that out. I mean, it's pretty nice. It's fully accommodated and everything else. And then one of my kids reminded me that if we do an Airbnb, what's to stop my wife's ex-husband from renting it out for the summer? And I was like, oh, okay, so that's not an option.
Well, I mean, you would stop him from doing that.
Oh, that just
unless he changed his name or something. I mean, you're the one who gets to say yes or no.
That's a risk I would not take. That is not a
exactly.
risk.
That's a conflict I just don't want to handle.
That would be.
Oh yeah. I mean, if it seems like something that he would do if given the opportunity, then yes, I can feel why you'd hesitate.
He specifically asked about it last time he was planning a trip up here. So
he wanted to use it, or he wanted.
He wanted to use it. He was like, I can just stay in the trailer outside. I wouldn't have to be in the house because we have a guest room and everything else. And we were like, you're not staying in our house. And he was like, well, I can just stay in the trailer. And we're like, no, that's still too close.
It's awkward. All of it's awkward. But you know what isn't awkward?
What's that?
Oh no, maybe it is. Terrible turn of phrase. I want to say thanks for everyone watching on the live stream. But we gotta say goodbye. Tom is back tomorrow. Stay tuned. And then everyone else who listening on the audio channel, stay tuned for more.
There's more to come.
All of my secrets.
I have a terrible segue. I got to work on those.
Some terrible segues are the best segues.
And that would be a good segue to stop the broadcast.
Yep.